All right, YouTube, it's the day after the first night of Ferguson protests slash riots, and we're getting a clearer picture now of where this is headed. Probably back to the 1960s. Because race relations in this country have just in 24 hours have taken a severe hit. It shouldn't have. This shouldn't be seen as an issue of just, well, it's black versus white. No, it's police versus everybody else. Let's face it. Hopefully the population wakes up to this fact. I don't hold out much hope that they will. They've been fooled. They've been fooled by DC using a bunch of wedge issues, which are paired with this two-party mentality that also makes no sense. And the basic purpose is to keep people fighting one another so that they don't fight the police, they don't fight DC, and they don't question the government. Well, there are some that are doing so. We look at civil asset forfeiture, we look at all of these different things, and we can say the police in this country are outright abusive in many cases towards people regardless of their skin color. That's just the way that it is. White schizophrenic dude is suicidal. Here, right in my state in Vermont, goes into a church, says he's going to kill himself, got a knife, and the police gun him down. He hasn't made any violent moves toward anyone. He's just suicidal and delusional, and he gets gunned down in cold blood. That's the way that it works in this country at this point. I don't know why Andy Griffith and Barney Fife style police forces in small town America need mine-resistant armor vehicles. Are they worried about, a million ISIS members suddenly storming the border and infiltrating the country or something? I don't know, but it doesn't make much sense to me. And I'm going to trust the veterans coming back from foreign theaters when they say that our streets now look more like the streets of Baghdad than they did when they left. That's the issue at hand. It has nothing to do with the actual grand jury decision, because think of it this way. The grand jury already deliberated and found unanimously, including the 3 black individuals on that grand jury, that there was no evidence to indict Darren Wilson. You can't simply reconvene grand jury after grand jury and put on a bunch of kangaroo court trials and drag him into jail anyway and claim that he did something wrong against all possible evidence that was already reviewed. You can't just simply put somebody on public trial over and over again until you get the result you want. The people calling for this kind of action don't understand the legal system. However much you trust it or distrust it doesn't matter. That's not the way that it works. You can't put somebody on trial over and over again until you finally get the guilty verdict. It's not effective for one thing and it's not fair for another. They looked at the evidence. They found there wasn't enough to indict him, let alone if he went to trial. I can guarantee you right now he'd be acquitted. You could have an all-black jury composed just of people who themselves got arrested for looting in Ferguson, and they'd find him not guilty. There's no evidence to say that he did anything wrong. But I can tell you what there is evidence of. There is evidence of a whole lot of race baiting in Ferguson, courtesy of people like Obama and Sharpton, who have largely goaded these people, this small minority of protesters, into rioting and looting and burning businesses down. I think it's up to 17 businesses as of the end of last night, and it'll probably be more tonight. Let's face it, there's probably going to be more protests and looting tonight. To say that there wouldn't be at least a few scattered arsons sprinkled in there, I think is pie-in-the-sky lunacy. And I can also say that the police reacted very poorly to the situation. Because to the entire world watching, even the mainstream media, this is something I didn't foresee. I thought the mainstream media largely would just focus on the rioting and arson. But what do we see on NBC this morning on front page news? We see Tank Guy standing there exactly like the dude from Tiananmen Square as a bunch of police vehicles approach. Maybe people will start waking up a little bit. Maybe I should give people more credit. And I'll say jury's still out on the decision as to whether people wise up and realize what the real issue is here. It goes beyond race. You had that case there where that toddler got their face all ripped apart by that police grenade during a no-knock raid. The very existence of no-knock raids, civil asset forfeiture. You've got a million different things that are done by the government, because the police are just the strong arm, the mob that enforces the demands of the government. That's really all they are. They're not really there to protect you. They're there to make sure that the law is followed. Well, when you've got a bunch of unjust laws and you've got a bunch of military-looking police who have all the body armor and so forth, naturally they're going to act more aggressive because you've given them the means to do so. And remember, 100 looters could come up the street right now and attack this home. And if I grab a gun, I can mow down every looter, kill them in cold blood, and get off scot-free. Because I was defending myself, and the law would see it that way. They would say, I was attacked first, I have the right to defend my life and my property. I would have the right to do that. But one rent-a-cop comes up the street and starts acting aggressive towards me, and I might as well just bend over and shove a dildo in my ass for all the good it's going to do me, because I can't resist at all, because then I get arrested. And if I fight back, I'll get killed, and they won't be held accountable for that, even if they themselves were acting improperly, even if they themselves were breaking the law before I so-called broke the law by defending myself. There's only one state in the Union where you can actually defend yourself from a police officer who's acting outside of the sort of region of lawful activity, and that's Indiana. By the way, I think Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground should be federal laws. I believe that very much. People have a right to defend themselves. It doesn't matter if the person happens to have a badge on. If they are acting outside of the law, then you have the right to defend yourself. Only in 49 states you don't, unfortunately. It's rather strange that this is the way that the law has worked for so long. But that's the issue at large. It has nothing to do with, look at the sort of military vehicles that they're deploying in Ferguson right now. We've dealt with riots before in this country. Look at the LA riots, where the police were able to keep the calm, and they didn't need all of this gear. Yes, calling in the guard was a great idea. Where the fuck were they? All I saw were lines of militarized police terrorizing people, randomly firing tear gas at people's homes and into their yards, causing brush fires. I didn't see the guard anywhere. Where the fuck were they? Where the hell are these soldiers that are supposed to be making sure that both sides are protected? Where were they? Where were the fire departments and the police on Florissant when all of these buildings were being torched? They were several streets away, guarding a few government buildings. They left these business owners were left to fend for themselves. Even funnier, the largely black arsonists in this area that are trying to sort of get their nuts off at the man, I guess, by burning a business down, were attacking mostly black-owned businesses. So you've got a situation of chaos and stupidity on both sides, where you've got the police completely ignoring the actual crime and focusing on a handful of protesters, and you've got the looters and shooters and so forth attacking black businesses as though this makes the situation any better. No, it makes you a laughingstock. Because now when people turned on the TV this morning, what did they see? They saw a bunch of burning cars, a bunch of burning businesses, sometimes with the black business owner sitting there fucking losing it and crying and standing there barefoot for 15 minutes, just lamenting his fate that all of these people would burn his business out of all of the others. That's what they see on TV. What the fuck good did it do for these people to attack these businesses? What the fuck were they thinking? I can tell you what they're thinking. They were thinking, oh, free food, free liquor, free whatever they wanted to get by attacking these businesses. They've just fucked up their own community. You've lost so many businesses in this one area. I would not be surprised to see 10 years from now Ferguson looks like Detroit. The reason being, a lot of these business owners are going to leave now. They're going to say, well, this area is too high crime, it's no longer a good investment, take the insurance money, and they'll move to Bermuda or something. They'll do exactly what people in Detroit did. By the way, the so-called white flight of Detroit also included tens of thousands of black business owners. They left because they didn't want to be left alone to deal with the situation. And so what you have is a crumbling city that's not going to get better and is eventually going to stop existing. If this happens in the St. Louis area, what happens if Ferguson becomes a blighted zone like some of Detroit's zones, and that violence seeps over into St. Louis proper? What happens when St. Louis becomes the next Detroit? It didn't happen in LA because the population was so massive to begin with. You do have blighted zones there, admittedly, but a lot of the areas, they employ their own fucking private security forces at this point because they realize that the police are corrupt. It's just a stupid situation. Both sides are acting like morons. The police are fucking themselves up the ass for no reason. They should know better. The governor or somebody else should have told them that sort of response is going to be looked down upon, because now you've got every anarchist and communist that's going to pour into that area to agitate anyway. You've got, people from around the community that are obviously going to be pissed off at the police response. And even more, they're going to be pissed off at the looters. Well, you've just fucked up your own protests, really, because now you've pissed off the entire business owning class of that city against the protesters. Fucking morons. You look on the feeds last night, and the auto dealership's up in flames. Somebody has meticulously smashed out all of the windshields in the front row and set fire to probably about 30 different cars. Several of them look like sports cars to me, so you got a lot of fiscal loss there. Taco Bell burns to the ground, fucking beauty salon burns to the ground. What the fuck's the point of burning these businesses? They didn't have anything to do with the police response. They didn't have anything to do with Darren Wilson or Mike Brown or any of these other figures. They're just businesses. What the hell is burning Taco Bell down gonna help? How the hell does this help your cause at all? How does it convince people that you're right? We don't want to be seen as street thugs and ghetto gangbangers. Oh, what can we do to make the situation better? I know, I'll burn Taco Bell to the ground. Oh, fucking genius. And the police are acting the same way. Well, we don't want to be seen as white racist oppressors. We want the trust of community back on our side and all this fucking feel-good bullshit. What can we possibly do to make the situation better? I know. We'll start firing tear gas and rubber bullets because one fucking person in the crowd decided to be retarded and throw a bottle. Both sides are completely moronic. I mean, just fucking evict everybody from this fucking city, burn it to the ground, and start again. Jesus Christ. Fucking retarded people everywhere. And everyone just keeps talking about race is the only issue. And then you've got people trying to drag in patriarchy and all of this stuff. It's not about the fucking patriarchy. It's not about black-white relations. Those white cops that are standing there would beat down a white citizen just as happily if they thought that they could grab $50 from their pocket. It has nothing to do with race. We've seen it time and fucking time again. The thing is, when you look at a white community and you look at the sort of police abuses that happen there, they don't make the national news. Not because they don't deserve to be. Some of these attacks are absolutely vicious and brutal. Police dog eats off somebody's fucking arm. You're not going to hear about that for more than one news story. Why? Because they're white, so there's no race baiting to be had there. Nobody cares if a white person gets mowed down by the cops. The thing is, whites get mowed down, blacks get mowed down, Hispanics get mowed down, Asians get mowed down, Native Americans get mowed down, Pacific Islanders get mowed down. Everybody gets mowed down by the police. And nobody cares unless it happens to happen in a black community with mostly white cops, even if they've got a legitimate explanation as to why most of the police force is white. Because no blacks signed up for the job. So the Darren Wilson, Mike Brown fiasco itself is a dead issue. You can't retry this person over and over and over. What you can do is look at the situation of last night and the continuous protests and violence and police brutality there, and you can look at the situation and say, what would calm things down? Well, maybe if the police didn't look like soldiers quite so much, people would be a little more calm. Riots tend to burn themselves out anyway. It's not going to turn into a revolution unless you push people by using these militarized police forces. Like exactly what we saw in the civil rights era, or in the anti-war sort of mid-Vietnam era. That's exactly what you saw. You saw crowds of hundreds of thousands of people at the DNC at the time. These little college hippies, most of which were white, they were Sieg Heiling the police just to piss them off. They organized beforehand and they all got helmets and they created trash can lid shields and they were carrying baseball bats and billy clubs and stuff and beating the shit out of the police. Nobody really arrested them because there were too many of them. That could be the sort of situation that you see. But nobody gives a fuck because they'd rather talk about black and white. Well, fuck you, you're retarded. Fucking go play with yourself or something. It's gonna do about the same good as the sort of weird shit that you're saying to me. Now, just look back at the 60s and the sort of things that happened there, and you'll see eerie familiarity because it'll look exactly what's happening now. It's the same thing. No, it's a clusterfucked scenario, just like it has been since day fucking one. And people need to realize that. People are, I think very short-sighted, and they have a low attention span. I think that's one of the problems. People don't want to realize that, the police are acting the same way they did during Kent State. Well, what happens when they fire on a crowd of white kids with live ammo? Is the white community finally going to wake up and see that they can be abused too? Is that what it takes? Do white kids have to get gunned down in broad daylight in Ferguson in order for people to actually give a shit about what the police are doing over there? And when, by the way, is the black community going to stop attacking their own businesses? It doesn't make any sense. It's completely retarded. It's completely nonsensical. You can blame agent provocateurs, say, oh, well, they set the fires. No, looters did that. And you can see it on a million different feeds now because it's still going on right at this moment, probably. I'm sure that there are still people with the occasional Molotov sneaking around in the alleys, right as we speak right now in Ferguson. I'm sure that there will probably be a few businesses targeted in broad daylight because they don't care. They don't care if the business is owned by a black person. They burned KFC down. They burned Domino's, I think it was, down. What's the point, folks? How stupid can you be? You've destroyed basically the core of your own community. You've destroyed the main drag of your own city. Well, congrats, because when this all dies down, where the fuck are you going to get your KFC and Domino's from now? Where are you going to get your good capitalist goodies from? Nowhere, because you've just chased all the businesses out of your own town. Retard. Yep, that's about all. Peace out.